feel a bit mean.
I don't.
It's pretty poor.
That feeling's not even in me.
Our task for you both this week is to invite the girl from the article to do a three-way conversation between her, Jack and Tori and come clean now on what you have been dragging her through without her knowing it.
I saw a recent interview of Lauren, so I assume she's doing great. Apparently, she had to go for an emergency surgical procedure, so I wish her a speedy recovery. And then I hate how the producers are making Ridge out to be the bad guy in the Andy and Richard story. I don't like that. And I'm here for Lucinda and Timothy. I am here for them. I live. The way they're good at winding up people and being messy. Well, Jack thought he was the boss. Now they're going to teach him. Now they're going to teach him how it's done. But anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe, click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, and definitely leave a comment. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight, Australia, Season 11, Episode 27. I wish Lauren a speedy recovery. The show is not the same without her, and I hope her surgery goes great. She has to go back to Perth to have surgery because she's got some blood clots, so it's going to be sad. It's going to be sad without her. The dinner party won't be the same. I love her commentary. I wish she was there for the feedback to hear what Jack said about their visit and the questions that they gave them. But hey, she's asked Jono to sort of channel her and him, and we all know he's not going to do anything. You then have Kaz and Tristan be asked to write a task for Ridge and Jade, and everybody is right to sort of question whether Ridge is mature enough to deal with a woman who has her own child. I think Ridge, as I've said before, he has a persona, the person he comes across, the jokey, the immature, the goofy person, and then he has the mature side, the professional person, the one that's loving, caring, compassionate, the one that's very supportive of his partner and her child. So it's a pity that we don't get to see both. We only get to see one side. Even Jade said, people don't see the side of Ridge that I see, so everybody sees the goofy side and they just think that's who he is. But he's got a very lovable and sort of mature, caring side that he shows me. So as long as she sees it and she's happy with it, I think he does try. Because even when he was told to clean the toilet, he didn't fight, he didn't fuss, he just carried on with it. He was moving stuff, he was doing whatever he was asked to do. The dinner, questionable. He put some hot sauce with mayo in a bowl with rice and tuna. I would never try that. Nah. But at least he tried. Even Jade said she's giving him points for effort. So at least he's made the effort. He hasn't sort of been dismissive or been combative and said, I'm not going to do it. So at least he's tried. That I give him credit for. Am I the only one who's not buying Sarah's performance? I think she knows Tim is a great guy. She knows she messed up and she's trying to sort of reinvent herself and to try and get empathy from the viewers, because she knows that if the fellow participants are being this mean to her, she can only imagine what the viewers will think when they watch it. So she's trying to sort of revamp her character and sort of make sure that people end up feeling sympathy for her. I don't buy her performance, sadly. Yes, she's sorry. She should have said all this before Jaden dragged her across the coals. Now that Jaden has dragged her, she's now using that as an excuse that, people are trying to interfere in our relationship. No, you did that by speaking to your ex. You did that by going to meet up with your ex. So please leave Jaden. I never thought I would defend him. Please leave Jaden alone. And because she knows that, sadly, Tim has a soft spot for her. This is why she's making a big deal out of it and crying and putting on a performance. I am not buying it. Sadly, it seems Tim is buying it and is open to her sort of changing. But I think she's going to put off a performance just to allow herself to stay on the show. I think that's her main focus. She wants to stay on the show and get as many followers or get as many sort of influencer roles as she can. So that's why she's apologizing. Otherwise, she hasn't done anything else to show me that she's apologetic, really. So you have Lucinda and Timothy be asked to assign a task to Rich and Andy. We know Rich and Andy's task worked a charm with Lucinda and Timothy. So they decided to reciprocate, the kind gesture. They sat down, they had a conversation, and were sort of coming up with ideas of what to do. And then they asked them, we want you to revisit your vows or your wedding day. And this was the best gift that they could have given them, because it brought them back, because they were struggling to reset. And I think they were struggling to find where to reset from. And so going back to their wedding day, sort of having to wear the same clothes they wore on their wedding day, having to repeat their vows, and at least now the person that you're saying your vows to really brought that connection. You can see Richard really wants this to work. He really likes Andy, and he's really wishing for their relationship to get a spark. And you could see the excitement and the joy on Andy's face, the way she was sort of giddy when she was reciting her vows. And then they had the champagne and they were dancing. This was a very good reset for them. If nothing else, this was a very good reset. I think, yes, Andy was complaining that Richard can be a bit crass in some of the way he speaks about their intimacy. It's just a matter of sitting him down and sort of explaining to him, this is what I don't like, and seeing if you can sort of help him navigate that, because he's not saying he doesn't like her. He doesn't mean it in a disrespectful way, and she recognizes it. It's just that that's who he is, and maybe they have to compromise and sort of reach a way of him being able to speak about their intimacy without offending her and still being himself. And I don't know how they can sort of reset to that, but at least it sort of makes sense why they were sort of assigned to sort of work together, why Lucinda and Timothy were assigned to sort of work with Andy and Richie, because I think because they're sort of within the same age range or the same age bracket, they sort of understand each other better. Yes, I would have wanted them to work with Tristan and Cassandra, but I think this makes sense because they are able to appreciate where the other couple is and sort of assign tasks that are meant to build and grow the relationship, which I really loved. This is a hot mess. So you have Tori and Jack be told that they're going to meet up with people to give them feedback. I think because Lauren had to go for her operation, so they had to shuffle it around and sort of see if they could have other people sort of step in, because Jono, he's not going to do anything anyway. So they assigned Jade to meet up with Jack. Does it make sense? No, I would have preferred to meet up with Lauren and she read him for filth. But then anyway, it is what it is. You have Tori meet up with Jaden. Jaden came in with smoke. Jaden came in on smoke. Jaden thinks he is the Izzy because his couple is working, so he thinks he has the right or the power to tell anyone what he thinks. He is right to say there's been a lot going on with your couple that people have sort of ignored and have sort of brushed off, but there are a lot of things going on here that we need to address. You seem to be giving Jack a pass, which she is, and she says they've got a good working relationship, and it's like, working relationship as do you see each other as associates then? Do you see each other as business partners that are just in it for the end goal? Make it make sense. I love the fact that Jaden asked her, do you see your relationship working outside of the experiment? What is it in particular that makes you believe that it's going to work? And for her to have said, oh, I don't want to hear anybody's opinion. Tori's just in this for the money. That's my opinion. She's just in it. She's just in it for the money and nothing else. Nothing she said or done has shown me that she's romantically. Yes, she might like Jack. She might be attracted to him, but she also must know that he doesn't feel that way, because she's been told by Jaden that, do you think you like Jack more than he likes you? And she went, no, I think it's the same. And it's like, oh, please sit down. Please keep quiet. We're not here for this mess. When Tori watches the interaction between Jack and Jade, she's going to feel like an idiot. What did I say? An idiot. Because she's been saying there's chemistry between the two of them. She's been saying he's attracted to her as much as she's attracted to him. He's giddy. He's like a little high school boy. With Jade, he's all giggly. He's shifty. You can see he's infatuated with her. He even said Jade looks like the people that I normally date. He's complimenting her, and it's like, you barely compliment your wife. You're telling her she's in your top 3, and yet you told your wife she needs to convince you why you need to put her number 1. Make that make sense. Which cloud is this woman living under? Can someone come and drag her out? Because it doesn't make sense that you are with someone for at least 6 to 7 weeks, and yet he's more giggly and more giddy and more fidgety with somebody else's wife. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. And yet Tori has the audacity to say, oh, I don't want any feedback from anyone because nobody's in our relationship. Yes, you do, love. Yes, you do. I'm waiting for Jack to make an inappropriate comment to Jade. That way she can take it back to Ridge and Ridge can come with the smoke and show Jack that he's not the man as much as he thinks he is. I think if Jack had his way, if he had his way, he would have asked to be swapped wives and be given Jade. You can see that he really likes her. You can see that. Delusion is real because you have Tori saying she doesn't care about anybody else and their opinion. She's happy in a couple. Jaden is trying to hold her feet to the fire to say, this man doesn't feel about you the same way you feel about him. You need to open your eyes and be realistic and honest with yourself. And she's still, I'm going to defend Jack. I don't care what anybody else has to say. I've been answering this question for weeks and weeks and weeks. I'm not going to change my opinion. I promised Jack that I would always stand by him and this is what I'm going to do. And it's like, yeah, there is standing by someone when you think that there's a genuine reason, but this man hasn't given you any reason to believe that he wants to be in a romantic connection with you. So why are you killing yourself for someone who's not interested in you? Meanwhile, across town, you have Jack busy saying to Jade, oh, I am in a happy space with Tori. So Jade had to ask him that if you were matched with anybody else, do you think you would have had a quicker reaction? You would have had sex with him. You'd be in a better place. And he's quick to say yes. Yes. And so is Tori the person? He went, well, no. And it's like, well, Tori's busy defending you. She's going to war with Jaden. And here you are sort of throwing her under the bus. She looks like an idiot. I wish I could sit beside her as she watches this and see how she feels, how humiliated, embarrassed she feels, putting up with this and sort of defending this man and making everybody to feel like they're idiots and she's the one who knows best. Oh, I know a different Jack. No, love, there's no other side of Jack. I can believe it about Ridge, but about Jack, nah. What we see is what we get, and this is who he is 24/7. You are delusional. Yeah, you have this idea of who you think Jack is, and that's what you're sticking to. Sarah and Tim. Tim, for me, is too good a guy for Sarah. I think they should have gone home. I think he should have gone home and healed his heart and then moved on. I think Sarah is going to do and say anything that will keep her on the show. I don't think she's being as genuine as needed. Well, she's taken him out for a picnic and it's like, well, maybe if I were you, I would have started by showing him my phone. That's where I would start, by showing him my phone and showing him that I have nothing to hide. I've cleared my phone out of maybe... I had a conversation between me, him, and my ex and sort of explained to him exactly what took place instead of you sort of taking him out for sandwiches and a drink on the beach. That for me would have been a way to sort of redeem yourself and try to sort of get his trust back, gain his trust back. But hey, to each their own. He seems to be buying it. He's open to the idea to sort of give her a second go and see if they can make it work. I think he's just going to be left heartbroken. That's all I see. I think he's going to be heartbroken because I don't think she's in the right space to give him what he wants, and I don't think she's the right person for him. I think he needs someone who's more caring, empathetic, and compassionate, and I think Sarah is a bit too feisty for him. I think she's too feisty for him, but that's just my take on the situation. So Ridge and Jade are tasked with asking Lucinda and Timothy some questions. And we all know how Timothy feels about people younger than him. The producers did this just to be messy because they could have easily assigned Ridge and Jade to speak to Tristan and Cassandra. That would have made sense. So the idea that they did this, they knew they wanted to wind up Timothy. They knew they wanted to start him off. And so Timothy is very biased. I agree with Lucinda that everyone could teach somebody a thing or two because it's not about the age, but it's about the journey. We have all walked different journeys in life, and in our journeys we've learned a thing or two, and we could teach somebody else. So the idea that Timothy has this wall up that, oh, he's younger than me, he's got nothing to teach me apart from the price for a kids meal at McDonald's. No, that's an insult. That's an insult. That's not necessary. That's below the belt. We all don't know Ridge as a person. I've always said this. He's got a persona he puts on, and people sort of underestimate him because of that persona. Yes, they did ask him, what sort of role model do you see yourself being for, Jade's daughter? And he did give a response. I feel like it was edited out to make him seem shallow because the only thing we heard was family values, but I think he's got a lot more that he said that must have been edited out because the producers are sort of setting up Ridge to be this persona that's very shallow and very sort of one of those high school or college frat boys that have no sense of direction, and that's the way they're portraying him. So he then asked Lucinda and Timothy that, do you see this growing outside of the experiment? And they said, we feel like there is hope. This is why we're in it, and we're continuing to grow, and we feel like we're growing. And sadly, he made it slip. I think he's told on everybody else, but because Jack is the one who was likely to sort of trigger Timothy, this is what we were shown. I think there was a lot of editing in that scenario. I think a lot of things were edited out, and they sort of focused on the things that they knew would trigger Timothy. And so Rich bringing up Jack and his comments about Lucinda and Timothy just set Timothy off, and I can't wait for the dinner party because Tim is ready to go. And there's going to be another round. I don't even know whether it's round 4 or 5 now. I can't wait for that drama. Sarah and Timothy has always been about sex, and as long as their sex is great, they have been great. And this is evident because after the picnic, apparently they got home as soon as the cameras left and they jumped each other's bones, and so they're back to square one. I don't think they addressed the issues, as I've said. I think the issues should have been addressed, as I said before. If you haven't heard what I said, please rewind to the start, because otherwise they're just going to go back to square one, and I don't see them working. You then have Andrea and Rage meet up. The producers, in my opinion, are set on sort of portraying Ridge as this immature man or this immature young guy who just says whatever comes to his mind. He is a mental health practitioner. He didn't get there by being erratic. He must have shown some level of competency. I feel like he asked quite valid questions to Andrea, and sadly it's been mishmashed in a way that it sounds very erratic and it sounds very incoherent. But what he was saying makes sense, that at the moment Richie is at the mercy of Andy, in the sense that she's upset with him because he said some things that were not supposed to be said, and maybe because of his age, this is the way they're used to talking about sex. He hasn't learned that there's different ways of saying things, and because of that, he is really in love or in like with this woman and is trying to do everything to please her, and so he's at her mercy. So she chooses whether this relationship works or doesn't. And so I don't get how it was edited out to make it seem like Ridge is just spouting things off the top of his head. He's right. Even at the commitment ceremony, Richie said that he doesn't know whether Andy still likes him or not, or whether she's done with him, because it seems like she's not able to move away from his comments. And so Ridge was right. I'm sorry, I have to agree with him. He was right in whatever he said to her. That made her question herself. But it's been edited out to make it seem like, oh, she's so distraught, she doesn't know what to do. She's gone back 10 steps just because of Ridge. I don't think so. He's a mental health practitioner. He's somebody who's studied mental health and knows how to speak to people and is able to sort of assess situations rationally. So I don't buy what the producers are trying to sell us. I hope Andy takes on board what Richie said and actually puts in the work, because they are a great couple. As he said he really likes them as a couple. So I can't wait to see how they sort of implement the feedback that is given Andy. So because Ridge doesn't have any crazy drama with Jade, the producers have decided to put him in somebody else's mess. This doesn't make sense. That's the impression that I'm getting, because you have Andy sit down with Richie for a chat, and she sort of brings up the fact that, Ridge said, he feels like she wears the pants in the relationship. And he sort of Richie asked, in what context? I want to understand the context behind sort of his opinion. And when she explained, he agreed that, yeah, that's how I feel at the moment. And I think lack of accountability is the main issue with Andy and Richie, and they listen to respond, they don't listen to hear, as in they don't listen to understand what the other person is saying. As soon as someone is speaking, they're already drafting a response in their heads. That's the impression that I get. And so I get where Rich is coming from. Yes, I remember he did bring up, we haven't had sex since that blah, 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 blah. I remember he brought it up, but I don't remember when. So Andy is right. But he's also right in a sense in the fact that he's saying, if I do something wrong and you say you're forgiving me and we're moving on, let us move on. Don't let us move on, and then when something happens, you go back to incidents that happened before you forgave me, because what's the point? I can never win, because every time I think, okay, we're starting afresh, you come back with baggage from before we started afresh. So we're constantly going back to the starting line. We're never sort of moving forward. So I get where he's coming from. And sadly, Andy, I wish they would get an expert to come and sit down with them and let them sort of understand what the other person is saying, and they would be in a better space, because now Ridge is now being portrayed as the bad guy just because he asked a question or he gave his opinion, which he was asked to give. So I really hope the experts actually come and sit down with Andy and Richie before the commitment ceremony and have a conversation with them and help them sort of understand where they're sort of falling short and what they need to do in order to sort of grow their relationship. I'm here for Lucinda and Timothy. If Petty was a person, then put their faces next to it, because they decided to write a letter. They wrote what everybody else was thinking, let us be honest. The things they asked were what everybody else was thinking, let us be honest. Let us not lie and pretend like they're wrong. Let's call a spade a spade. We all want to know, is Jack really serious about Tori, or is he just putting on an act? So they wrote a letter and they did their Mission Impossible stance to go and drop it off. And their question was, we've seen you for weeks defending one another and staying together. And with this girl that Jack has said she's mad, we want you to sit down with her and sort of have a conversation and actually find out the truth of what is real and what's not. And this is my thing with Tori. Tori doesn't want people to look after her best interest. She wants to go along with this ride, even though she knows that it's faulty. So Timothy all along has been, in my opinion, this is my opinion, you might think differently, Timothy has been looking out for Tori. He was the first person to tell her that Jack is really not into you, before even the allegation that Jack was telling other husbands that they can sleep with Tori if they do a wife swap. He was the first person to try and protect her from that embarrassment had she listened, but no, she decided to support Jack. So Tori was fuming, oh, this has got me over the edge, this is really infuriating. And it's like, girl, your husband told somebody to muzzle their wife. Your husband told someone to shut up. Your husband called people whales. Your husband talked badly about his ex, and yet this is what has upset you. Okay. The fact that people are trying to give you honesty is upsetting for you. Make that make sense? Because you're not upset at the fact that he's talking badly about his ex, or he's making his ex up to seem like she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, and yet you are happy to sit there and say you really like him and you'll defend him till the end of the world. I don't get it. I can't wait for tomorrow. I know there's going to be beef and drama, and I'm here for it. And I give credit to Timothy and Lucinda. I like a couple that can, be down in the trenches, digging and really fighting for their relationship and fighting for one another like they did on the couples retreat. And I also love a couple that can be petty and messy like they did with the letter. That was messy.com. Well, Jack came for them and they decided to give him a piece of his own medicine, and now he's upset and he's fuming and his wife is fuming. Oh, they need to sit down, someone keep quiet please. We're not here for it. Anyway, it was a great episode. I really enjoyed it, and I hope Lauren gets well soon. Thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 26. Bye guys.